Okay, in this video we will go over a brief overview of what students will cover in geography of the Eastern Hemisphere. So let's get started. The Eastern Hemisphere can be easily defined as anything that isn't North, Central, or South America. So Europe, Africa, Asia, Oceania, meaning Australia and the surrounding islands. But let's start with the more broad topics, starting with what is geography. Essentially, we can break geography down into four relatively broad categories. The first is physical geography. In physical geography, students will study the physical features of the land that make up this earth. So the water features like understanding the difference between a bay, a sea, and a lagoon. Um, Land features that will help students understand the difference between a mesa and a plateau, what makes a mountain versus a glacier, so on and so forth. So the physical geography, or the study of physical geography, is the study of the physical, natural things that make up our planet. Next is political geography. Political geography is the study of national borders, national boundaries. It is the study of the spaces that nations define for themselves. It is often the study of knowing where a country is located on a particular map, knowing how a country's borders have evolved or changed over time. All of that is part of political geography. It is the study of the political boundaries created by nations. Next, we get into what is perhaps the most broad part of the study of geography, which is human geography. In human geography, students study the things that human beings do and create and need within their ecosystem, within the geography or geographic space that they occupy. So it's a study of things like economies, religion, education, government, all of the cultural things that human beings create. So human geography is the study of the people. And what makes human geography unique or interesting is that human geography is not confined to any particular political boundary. So, for example, the people of Scandinavia, the people of Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, they all have similar cultural things that make them all part of the same cultural ethnic group, uh, but they all live within different political boundaries. Uh, you can learn about the Kurds, which are a group, a minority group that exists within the Middle East. They are a people within um, a people that exist without a country of their own. Or an example from the United States would be Native American tribes and the ways that they have lived with and interacted with the U.S. federal government while trying to maintain their own unique and distinct identity within the larger American population. So that's how we study human geography. And those are the things that students will come to understand as they study human geography. Next is climate or environmental geography. This is the newest of the branches of geography. And essentially, it is the study of the ways in which human beings interact with their physical geography and create changes. So the ways that population and migration, urban patterns, resources and conflict can make changes to rivers, coasts, and glaciers, weather and climate, ecosystems and biomes, and create this new environmental geography, things like waste and pollution, destruction of habitats, changing sea levels, and so on and so forth. So environmental geography is the study of the impact of human geography on their physical geography. Next, in terms of what regions students will study in their study of the Eastern Hemisphere, the first is typically Europe. Europe is a radically diverse region of the world. There are dozens of countries that exist within the European continent. They're all unique and different. They have their own languages and cultures and histories, and they are fiercely independent of each other. And so the study of European geography takes into account the history of Europe and how this geography has evolved over time, how these countries have come to be formed over time, and how they've been impacted by the physical and environmental geography in which they live. Next is Northern Eurasia. This is a very, very large region in terms of just its size, primarily because Northern Eurasia is dominated by one country, the country of Russia. Russia is the largest country in the world by land area. But Northern Eurasia encompasses more than just Russia. It includes places like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan. Basically, if it has a stan after it, you can consider it part of Northern Eurasia. It also includes the Caucasus region, so places like Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan. Northern Eurasia is one of the most unique places in the world because there are strong influences from Europe. So European settlers, European traders, and European culture really influenced the people of Northern Eurasia. And so they adopted a lot of European customs and European ideas as their countries began to develop. But at the same time, they are peoples greatly affected by their physical geography and the harsh nature of the climate in which they live. These are places that tend to be very mountainous, very cold, and so that environment that they live in played a significant role in the types of cultures that developed as a result. And so Northern Eurasia is a fascinating study of the influences of Asian cultures and ideas and European cultures and ideas and the way that those two things have been molded together. Africa is another truly fascinating place. Africa, first, is much larger than it appears on most maps. Mercator projections make Africa compressed. The reality is Africa is an absolutely enormous continent with quite a few different regions and sub-areas of the continent. So, for example, you have North Africa, which is dominated by the Sahara Desert, and there are a lot of Muslim populations and Arab populations that live in North Africa. You have West Africa getting down into the savanna regions, which developed, again, a much different culture, dominated by the Mali, historically dominated by the Mali people until the rise of slavery in the 17th and 18th centuries in the Western Hemisphere. You have Central Africa, where you see really the impact of the great rainforests. You have East Africa, which again is one of those crossroads areas, a crossroad between the rest of Africa and Asia and those trade routes that came in and impacted that region of Africa. And then you have Southern Africa, where you see a lot of, in particular, Dutch and English influence as they dealt with the period of colonization. So the study of Africa uh, is complex as students try to understand these various regions and the people that make up those regions. Southwest Asia, also sometimes referred to as the Middle East, is a topic that students uh, should be at least a little familiar with by the time they get into the class, because this region of the world is constantly in the news. Southwest Asia comprises of countries like Iran, Iraq, Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and the Gulf states. The study of Southwest Asia is a study of economies and the rise of oil economies. It's also the study of human ingenuity as human beings figured out how to live in some of the harshest environmental conditions on the planet, how they learned to grow and thrive in areas that have very, very little water. It's also the story of trade and the crossroads as the Silk Road passed through and came through Jerusalem from China into Europe, and the ways that Africa traded along the Silk Road and through the Middle East to get into China and India. So Southwest Asia is a fascinating area because of, again, the incredible things that human beings have done, but also because of the intense conflicts that have existed there for thousands of years. South Asia, moving on from Southwest Asia, we have South Asia, primarily defined as India and its neighbors. Uh, South Asia is a story of more than a billion people crammed into a very small area, and it's a story of how those people have somehow managed to scrape together uh, an existence, despite the fact that they have a population density more than 3 times that of the United States. It's also the story of some of the earliest civilizations and earliest presence of humanity, starting in the Indus River Valley in India. Then we have East Asia, another birthplace of human civilization, out in China. East Asia is primarily a study of China, the Koreas, and Japan. It is the story of this area of the world being a birthplace of all kinds of scientific and cultural advancements. Things like writing and gunpowder really came to be widespread in this area. But it's also the tragic story of colonization and their attempt to fight against the colonizing influence of Europe. And then we have Southeast Asia, an area that, like East Asia, attempted to resist European colonization, but in a lot of ways they were much less successful than China and Japan. And so in Southeast Asia, we see really strong influences of French culture and French colonialism in a place formerly known as French Indochina. We also see the influence of the Spanish in the Philippines, the Dutch and Indonesia, and really all throughout Southeast Asia. It's a story of peoples that have fought for a long time to carve out their own identity and to have a country that they can call their own. For example, the people of Vietnam fought for independence and fought for the right to have their own country for nearly 1,000 years. And so it's a story of human resilience as they faced oppression from all different countries. And then we have Oceania, an area of the world that is just massive. It includes Australia and then the Nesias, so Melanesia, Micronesia, Polynesia. These groups of islands that share some cultural and geographic similarities with each other, and how these island civilizations came to exist. So the Eastern Hemisphere is incredibly varied. It includes people from uh, virtually any ethnic group that you can possibly imagine, and it is a story of peoples and nations whose histories are very closely related to each other and very tied together. So enjoy your study of the Eastern Hemisphere, and hopefully you learn something.